I said I was going to introduce him the other day and I like completely forgot to. So this is Donald. This is Emma's dad and the new baby's dad and my fiance. Right now we're on the way to
onto Avenue East.
We're on the way to a medical clinic to get Emma seen about. Yeah. She's had a really bad cough the last few days and it's only gotten worse as times went on. And it's gotten to where it's starting to make her throw up and she's crying with it. I know, baby. So we're gonna go see if we can get her some medicine and see what's going on. And I will update y'all.
Avenue East, then you will arrive at your destination.
And I will update y'all once we get there. Alright, see y'all then. Hey guys, it's Chloe. And as of right now, it's just gonna be me in this video. Emma's in the room and she is super grumpy. This video was gonna be about us taking her to the medical clinic because she has a really bad cough and everything, but we ended up not getting to do that because by the time we got there, they were closed. Which is really weird because I called before we even went and I was like, hey, you know, my daughter has a really bad cough and it's getting so bad, she's starting to throw up. Can we go ahead and bring her in? And they were like, yeah, we close at 5, but y'all should make it in time. And I was like, okay, well, we live in, and I said our town, and it's like a 15-minute drive. And she was like, no, we can stay open, just come on in. So we drive, like, I think it was like a 19-minute drive. We go, and we get there, which it was so hard to find. We drove around like 2 different times trying to find it. I had to ask for directions to it because the one on the GPS map wasn't the right building, like they moved locations. But whenever we got there, they were closed, and they closed at 5, and we got there at 4:13, and I was like, did they literally leave because we called and said we were coming? So we ended up not getting to do that. And at a medical clinic, they won't do chest x-rays, so I wanted to do that instead of just taking her to the hospital, because at a hospital, they're going to do x-rays, and that means that she would have had a chest x-ray done today, and then a chest x-ray done next week at her actual doctor's office because we're going in for her cough and they'll do a chest x-ray. And then in like 2 weeks, I think, she's going in to see the lung doctor because I don't think I've talked about this. She has problems breathing and everything. So we have to get her into a lung doctor and they're going to do chest x-rays too. So already right then, that's going to be like 4 chest x-rays in less than a month. So I was like, I don't want to take her to a hospital unless we know like, hey, she needs to go to the hospital. But I think she just has a cold, so I was just going to take her to a medical clinic and get her some medicine. But with them being closed, we went to the store and got her over-the-counter Zerbies cough and mucus medicine. And if that doesn't seem to help by in the morning, we're probably just going to suck it up and take her to the hospital because I don't want it to be anything serious. So yeah. That's what that video was going to be about, but now I'm just going to turn it into talking about my labor and delivery with Emma, because with this pregnancy, I feel like y'all are going to be able to go through it with me, and I'm going to be recording about it and doing updates, and with Emma, y'all didn't really get to see any of that, so I don't want her to not be included in this because it's about her too. So yeah, I'm going to tell you all about her, and at the end of this, I'm probably going to insert some clips into it, like little pictures of her from whenever I had her, and I'm just going to talk to y'all about everything that happened, how it happened, if I did epidural, if it was natural, and everything like that. So yeah, alright, let's get started. I was pretty much 40 weeks whenever I had her. Her due date to be born, which was my due date, was July 8th, and I ended up getting induced with her July 6th, which was a Friday, 2018, and I want to say we went in at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock that morning into the hospital where I was delivering her at. Once we got there, okay, sorry about that little cutout. Donald had to come in and he had to ask me a few questions about insurance because we just got insurance on our car that was in our name. Anyways, like I was saying, I was about basically 40 weeks, 2 more days, I would have been 40 weeks. We went in at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock that morning to have her. We thought I was going to have to do C-section for like the longest time, and we were just like do y'all see that little fly? We were like hoping and praying that I wasn't gonna have to do C-section because I really wanted to do a vaginal birth. It sounds so awkward talking about, but I really wanted to do that, so I was just hoping we wouldn't have to do C-section. So after we got to the hospital, I had to sign in and do like a bunch of paperwork, and then we went back to the room, and I couldn't eat or drink anything, which really sucked. So they hooked up my stomach to like a little machine, and it like had a little like monitor on it, and they put one up here and one like on my lower stomach, and it was like, I guess, to keep track of my contractions and all of that. So they put that on me, and then they were like, well, if you need anything, just let us know. We're gonna have someone come in to fill out all the paperwork for the birth certificate and everything. And I was like, okay, great, yeah. And they were like, right now, if I were you, I would get as much rest as possible until your OB gets here. And I was like, all right. So I tried sleeping, which I could not because I was so excited and nervous and scared. So I could not sleep at all. Donald fell asleep, and his mom was there with me because we all rode together, and me and her stayed awake and we were talking. And then at like 10 something, I want to say, my sister came. Okay, sorry about that cutout as well. My camera died. So yeah, as I was saying, at like 10:30 that morning, my sister ended up coming, and thank God she did, because if she would not have, I would have looked horrible. I mean, I know people are like, don't care about, like, you don't need to worry about what you look like whenever you do it because you're about to deliver a baby. But whenever I say I looked horrible, I meant I looked horrible. I had like old makeup on my face from the night before because we were up all night. So it was like smeared, and my hair was up in a bun. I didn't even brush it that morning. It was just up in a bun. Like, I looked horrible. And my sister came, and she was like, hey, is it cool if I do your makeup? I brought my makeup bag, and she was like, and I'm going to braid your hair. And I was like, dude, you do that. I'm not doing my own makeup. I do not feel like it. And she was like, well, I'm going to do it for you. And I was like, that's a bet. And I didn't think, like, I knew we would take pictures of, like, the baby and stuff, but I didn't plan on everyone taking pictures of us as a family. And they did, and I was like, and then the hospital also took pictures, so I was like, okay, thanks, bae, like, you're the best, like, you're a lifesaver. But that was, after our makeup and stuff, my OB finally showed up, and she checked my cervix to see if I was dilated, which I wasn't, because my water hadn't broke or anything. Like I said, I still had 2 days before my due date was even there. So she ended up breaking the water for me, which we had it planned before I even went in that I was going to be induced early. So she ended up breaking my water, and then after she broke my water, she was like, do you want to do the epidural right now, or do you want to wait? And I was like, well, when's a good time to do the epidural? And she was like, well, normally whenever you start feeling contractions, we start getting people ready to do the epidural. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm not feeling any contractions right now. And she was like, well, we just broke your water, so it'll be a minute. And I was like, okay, well, let's wait for the epidural because I don't want it to, like, wear off. And she was like, it's not going to wear off. I was like, well, let's wait. It's okay. So we ended up waiting about an hour or so before I got the epidural. I started having a lot of contractions. I started feeling those contractions, and they were horrible, like horrible. So after I started feeling them, we went ahead and did the epidural, and then after we did it, I want to say it was about 2.5 hours later. She kept checking my cervix every so often, but about 2.5 hours later, I was ready to start pushing. So I started pushing, I want to say at like 3:30, 3:45, probably a little later, probably like 3:50. Because Donald had just had lunch and his sister just got there. So I want to say it was like 3:50. We started pushing, and in between pushing, we took like 3 different breaks, and they were like 5-minute breaks just because, like, they were telling me to push, and I could have sworn like I was pushing, but I couldn't feel anything like low because of the epidural, so it was all numb. I could not feel anything, and they were like, push, and I was like, I am pushing, and they were like, no, you're not, and I was like, crap. And my sister was like, just push. She was like, calm down, you're freaking out, push. And was crying. She does not feel good. So anyways, I actually started like pushing. I don't know, it was so weird. I actually started pushing, and about 20-30 minutes later, she was born. And after she was born, they cleaned her up and they got her all clean. They set her on my like chest for, I want to say like 2 minutes, if that, probably not even that long. It probably just felt so long to me because I was finally holding her after so long. So they like set her down, and then they went and got her cleaned up and started cleaning her, and they let my sister and Donald help clean her. There is a fly in here. They let my sister and Donald help clean her, and then Donald's mom started helping clean her. It was really cool. And as they were doing that, you know, they were sewing me and doing everything down there that they had to do, take the placenta out. But after all of that, I want to say like 30 minutes after they got done with her and everything, everyone started coming in and everyone was taking pictures, and the hospital took pictures. And with Emma, I wanted to breastfeed like so bad. Like we didn't even take formula to the hospital or any bottles because I had planned on breastfeeding. But for some reason, she would not latch. Like, she was not latching. She wouldn't latch at all. She wouldn't drink. She wouldn't nurse. And this went on for like an hour or two, and she was so, look at that fly. Ugh. Sorry. She was so grumpy just because she couldn't nurse. Like, I don't know why she wouldn't, but she wouldn't. And I was like freaking out because she wouldn't. And my sister was like, just calm down. Did you bring a pump? Maybe we should take a bottle. And I was like, but they say if you give her a bottle. And my sister was like, yeah, well, let's keep trying. So my sister was trying to help me to get her to latch on. And she wouldn't. And at the hospital that I had her at originally, they didn't have, there's that fly. Oh my god, okay. They didn't have a lactation doctor. I don't know how to say it. They didn't have the doctor that like helps you with all of that. They didn't have one of those. So the nurses and everyone was like, well, do you just want to give her a bottle? We have Similac bottles already made. And I was like, well, I don't want to give her a bottle because I don't want her to be used to bottles. And the doctor was like, well, it doesn't matter what she's drinking as long as she's eating. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're kind of right. Like, we'll go ahead and try that. And then the nurse that delivered Emma, she was by far one of my favorite nurses I've ever met. I was so in love with her. She was so sweet. She helped me her whole shift. Any problems I had, she was right there. Like, she was by far, out of every nurse I've ever met in my life, she was my favorite. So she helped me a lot. Like throughout the night, Emma, we were still trying to get her to latch on, even though she wouldn't. She would like help me, and she was like grabbing my boob trying to get her to latch, and she was like the only nurse that actually tried to help me get Emma to latch. And she was like, well, it's not really to help with latching, but they make nipple shields, maybe that'll help. And she was like, do you want one? And I was like, yeah. But a nipple shield didn't help either, so we ended up just sticking with bottles that night. And I want to say at like 1:30, 2 o'clock that night, Emma like was sleeping and she was acting like she couldn't breathe, and then she woke up and she was freaking out. Got it. She woke up and she was freaking out, and she was just acting like she couldn't breathe. And I was like, Donald, wake up, what's going on? So he went and got that nurse, and she ended up coming in, and they were like checking, like looking at her and everything, and they were like, no, maybe she just has something in her airways from whenever you delivered her. And I was like, okay. And so they like did the little nose thingy and tried cleaning her. And I want to say about like 3 other times that night we had problems with her breathing and her just acting like she couldn't breathe. So that was really scary. And as like the morning came and she was like more awake, I didn't seem to notice it. So I was like, oh, well, maybe, you know, she was just clogged and everything. So that's how that went. And they ended up sending us home the next morning. Like, I delivered her Friday the 6th. They sent us home Saturday the 7th, which I thought was so weird because normally patients stay for like 2 to 3 nights in a hospital after they deliver. But they ended up sending us home. And so on the way home, my sister and her husband ended up coming back up to the hospital, because Donald nor I had a license, so we couldn't drive our car home with her in it. And because before we were driving, because she wasn't in there, like Donald would drive to work and stuff, he didn't have a license. But with her, I was like, you know, we're not going to do that. And he was like, yeah, no. So my sister and her husband actually came up to the hospital, and her husband and Donald drove our car home, and me and my sister rode in her car with Emma to our house, and she dropped us off. And we ended up getting our license shortly after that. It was just really complicated in between those times because we didn't have a license, so we were having to go somewhere with someone who had a license because we didn't want to drive with Emma without a license. But yeah, so that's pretty much the story to labor and delivery. It was epidural vaginal birth, healthy. Like I was telling you, I don't know if I talked much about it in my other video about the breathing problems and stuff. To this day, Emma still has breathing problems, and her cough that I've talked about, she gets a cough like all the time, and it gets so bad it affects her breathing, and her breathing just gets worse, and it's all a mess. We have her on breathing treatments. She's been on breathing treatments for a while, and we've taken her back and forth to Dell Children's in Austin because of her breathing, and we've just had problems with her, like having trouble breathing, not being able to breathe since she was born, and we don't really know why. There's a baby. I'm gonna go out there. We don't really know why. Oh, that fly. Okay, sorry. We don't know why, but we're finally getting her into the I don't know how to say it. It's a lung doctor in Austin at Dell's, which we've been trying to get her in for like ever, and we have not been able to. And we finally got her an appointment for June. So hopefully we can go in there and figure out what's going on with her breathing and why she's having trouble breathing and get everything figured out. But yeah, other than that, all around she was a healthy, happy baby, and labor and delivery was probably the easiest thing ever. And everyone says how hard it is and everything, and I know it's hard, but I didn't really feel anything. And now I'm so scared that with this new baby, I'm going to feel it all just because Emma was so easy, and I feel like this one's going to be so hard. So I'm definitely nervous about that. But yeah, I'm probably going to end the video out here. Emma's out there with Donald, and he's trying to get her to lay down for her nap before bed, and she's not having it. So I'm going to go out there and get her and calm her down. And yeah, thank y'all for watching. If y'all have any questions, just let me know, and I will see y'all in my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!